easier to read. You can probably within 20 minutes of reading under an incandescent bulb, your eyes get tired and you start having things like headaches and you want to put the book down or the paper down. Under full spectrum, you can read for hours. There's just no strain on the eyes. So that's the second problem with the incandescent lights, is that it has this effect of glare on paper. The third thing is that the nerve endings on your skin, the yellow light causes those nerve endings to contract. And what is contracting nerves? That is called stress. And so when you have incandescent lights around you, your nerves are always contracted, and so you have a low to medium grade stress on you continually until you get out of that artificial incandescent light. The average person can experience this right away. You can be under an incandescent light for a while and then simply walk out your front door, get out of the light, but be aware of your body, and your body relaxes as soon as you move out the door.
Why don't they have full spectrum then in all the schools? I would see this as being essential for learning.
Two reasons. Money. Number two is that there are a lot of studies out there that show the improvement of students. The students' grade point averages go up. They are less hyper in the schoolrooms. Even their dental cavity rate goes down because the full spectrum light creates vitamin D and therefore healthier bones and teeth. Now, these studies are out there, but the obvious fact is that somebody has to pay for this other type of lighting going in. And so we get a lot of pilot projects in schools that they put it in one room, and everything I just said goes ahead. The students get much better and everything, but then they look at the bill to redo the whole school, and then it just gets put on the back burner, and only students that benefit would be those whose parents at home put in full spectrum lighting so their kids can study under it at night. At least that's mitigating part of the problem.
What about for buildings, Dave? For example, in office spaces, they're usually what kind of lighting? Fluorescent?
Fluorescent. Well, when we talk about the bad lighting, I dwelled a little bit on incandescent lighting and gave you some reasons why it's bad. And along with that, it also depresses the immune system. So you aren't as healthy your defenses aren't as great under incandescent light. So if you say incandescent light is bad, then you jump next to halogen light. And if incandescent light is a bad light, halogen light can be characterized as a very bright bad light. And so it also puts off a lot of ultraviolet light of the bad kind, and if they didn't have glass over the filament inside, then you would be exposed to a wrong kind of ultraviolet. So that's why they put glass over halogen lights. In the early years, they didn't have that. Then you jump to the third type of light, which is fluorescent. And fluorescent is bad because it still has the yellow color to it. So it has all the detrimental effects of incandescent and halogen. But then, on top of it, with a fluorescent light, you get a pulsing rate that's equal to the pulsing rate of your electricity. You're on a 120 volt, 60 hertz power. Well, 60 hertz means it's turning on and off 60 times a second. And so this fluorescent technology of turning stuff on and off gives you an irritability that is everybody experiences when you walk into a fluorescent lit room. Is you don't feel good. Well, that's that irritation of pulsing. And the third thing that fluorescent light is bad is that along with that pulsing, the power supply itself, called the ballast, puts out radiation. So you are affected by radiation. And interesting studies where you would take a fluorescent fixture and move it down close to new sprouting plants. And the sprouting plants would die near the ends of the tubes because of the radiation. Now, they've corrected this fluorescent type radiation effects and the pulsing rate by going to a faster power supply called an electronic one. So that got rid of the pulsing and got rid of, for the most part, the radiation. And that worked pretty good, but they still had the same color bulbs in, so they still had the problems with the yellow light. So those are the recap of the three types of bad lighting. So, again, when I say you don't get enough sunlight, and then you inside the boxes, your schools, your houses, your offices. So essentially, what's going on is you're subjected to all these other things, so you're getting the double whammy.
That's clear. Very,
now,
very
that was the
clear.
part we didn't go into in a lot of depth, but I thought it was important to the audience out there that they realize why they need to consider the detrimental effects of light. So I think maybe at this point, unless you've got some questions on the sunlight and the ambient type lighting, we could move back.
I do have one comment about the fact that almost all infrastructure is composed of bad lighting.
Yes, it is.
And because the paradigm is not science-based or healing-based, it's likely that a lot of infrastructure won't change unless new infrastructure comes in with the paradigm using light as a healing and energy source in creative places and entrepreneurial and enterprising places, and that becomes central to the paradigm in the construction of new structures. And that's where I see almost a new industrial complex where light is central to everything that's built.
It's going to be wonderful when it gets there. Actually, this banning of incandescent lights because of economy of expenditure of energy funds and forcing you to go to compact fluorescent lights has a good side to that. It's banning a lot of these incandescent lights, not for the reason we want, but the end objective is that compact fluorescents will help that condition.
If they're full spectrum.
Yeah, and now if people will realize that their compact fluorescent should be full spectrum, not the normal yellow-based compact fluorescents, but the full spectrum. Now they get they have a launching pad to much better health by just changing the lights in their house.
But I still want to go back to one thing about the full spectrum. Right now, how much infrastructure contains full spectrum that people can buy? Hardware stores? And is all full spectrum the same?
If you use all full spectrum, the best way to evaluate full spectrum is to use two indices. When you go to see a light and you ask your Costco or your Walmarts or your Home Depots or your local lighting company, and is this full spectrum light? As long as it qualifies under two numbers, one called the CFR, or Color Rendering Index, CRI, and CRI is in numbers, 100 being sunlight. If your bulb is 90 or above CRI, that's good. The other one is a heat degrees Kelvin type rating, and if it's above 5,000, then it's a full spectrum. So if you find bulbs anywhere that have on them, these are higher than 5,000 degree Kelvin, and they're higher than 90 CRI, color rendering index, then they are full spectrum. So that's how the consumer...
So would 5,000 be enough?
Well, you can get it up to 6,000, but
okay.
I'm giving you a cutoff point.
Right.
It's got to be above those. Below that it's obvious when they go below 90, the color turns yellow.
Okay.
And so it's pretty blatantly obvious that they're not ranking 90 or above when you look at a bulb. So